Welcome to Michael Park's F1, everything Formula 1, but from a photographer's point of view.
Race 21, the Las Vegas Grand Prix. In this video, I'd like to discuss 7 key points from the race weekend, and along the way, show you some of my favourite photographs. This is probably one of the most eagerly anticipated, probably the most hyped, new Formula 1 races that we've had in a very long time. There were so many things that were bigger, better, more spectacular, and just completely different to a normal race weekend. And it starts off with point number 1, the opening ceremony. On Wednesday night, Formula 1 put on this spectacular opening ceremony. It took place on the start-finish grid. They had these 7 massive digital cubes placed on the grid. Fans were in the grandstands and in the paddock club, watching a wide variety of singers emerge from the cubes to give their performance. There was fireworks, light shows. It was spectacular. It's the first time I can remember Formula 1 doing an opening ceremony. There is an opening party at Silverstone, but it's not this integrated in the whole track experience. It's not on the start-finish straight. So this was something unique. And it was done on Wednesday because everything had shifted forward a day. So our Wednesday was the press day, and the race day was Saturday, which is another first for me. It did rain a lot during the opening ceremony, which caught me completely by surprise. I wasn't expecting rain in the desert. I think we're up to 18 of the 21 races now being affected by rain at some point during the race weekend. I still find that quite amazing. It didn't really dampen the spirits. The fans were having a great time. We saw some brilliant acts: Keith Urban, Andrea Day, Kylie Minogue, Journey, John Legend, Tiesto, 30 Seconds to Mars, will.i.am. It would have been great to see each act on stage for a little bit longer. They were only given 1 song each. After the performers, the drivers all made an appearance, rising out of the same boxes, and while the opening ceremony was a massive success, the racing got off to the worst possible start you could imagine. Point number 2, FP1 Disaster. As usual, I was shooting FP1 in the pits, and after about 8 or 9 minutes, the session was stopped and all the cars came back. Carlos Sainz's Ferrari had unfortunately hit a manhole cover. This is not the first time this sort of thing has happened at a street circuit. Remember in Baku a few years ago, a cover got sucked up by a Williams and absolutely destroyed the car. And apparently what happened here, which caught the organisers a bit by surprise, is that the manhole covers in Las Vegas are fixed in using concrete. So you have 3 materials. You have the tarmac, the concrete, and the metal manhole cover. And I believe in other tracks, like Monaco for example, it's just tarmac and manhole cover. So here you had an additional material, and that material failed. Not only did it destroy Carlos Sainz's car, but it also seriously damaged Esteban Ocon. When he came into the pits, he looked visibly shaken. I can't remember seeing a driver looking so agitated as he did when he got out of the car. The session was stopped. There were over 100 different manhole covers around the track that all needed to be inspected. Lots of them needed to be fixed, but it took them a very, very long time to complete the inspection and repair everything that needed to be repaired. The session would resume again at 2:30 in the morning. And while these unfortunate things can happen, especially when we go to a new track, the decision to send all the fans home at 1:30 in the morning was terrible. Apparently, it was a little bit out of Formula 1's control because the hospitality and security staff personnel had been working a very, very long day, and they'd reached their absolute limit on the number of hours they could do at the track, because they couldn't have fans present without security. Formula 1 didn't communicate this very well, and many people felt very upset that they were being asked to leave. There was a huge backlash, as you can imagine. People had been waiting late into the night, they had spent a lot of money to come to watch Formula 1, and they were only able to see 9 minutes of it. What was worse was when the cars did get out on track, with empty stands. It was a really, really good session, and it's so sad that these fans weren't able to watch it. The session was extended to an hour and a half, and I spent most of that around the strip. It was phenomenal watching the cars coming down there at high speed. Sergio Perez was clocking speeds of 348 kilometers per hour. The cars were sparking. It looked spectacular. There was just no one there to see it. They compounded the growing negative sentiments towards the race by issuing Carlos Sainz with a 10-place grid penalty because of the damage caused to his car. He had to replace a number of parts, and those parts had grid penalties. It felt incredibly unjust because here he was a victim of something that was outside his control. So at the end of Thursday night, things were looking bleak. But this is, after all, Las Vegas. And my point number 3 is Las Vegas puts on a show. Coming to the track on Friday, we knew this had to be a redemption day. Things were rock bottom, as you can imagine. But as they say in the classics, the show must go on. And Vegas really pulled it off. Look, it's a spectacular backdrop to watch Formula One racing. Watching the cars go down the strip is amazing. Going past all those iconic hotels, under lights, and then the paddock was full of Vegas-specific iconography. We had more Elvis impersonators than you could shake a stick at. They did this really cool thing with the Las Vegas sign, printing the drivers' names as they arrived. The Blue Man Group was there. Loads of teams had come up with one-off liveries. Williams, Red Bull, but by far my favorite was Alfa Romeo. Their main sponsor is an online gambling platform, and they produced one of the best liveries I've seen throughout the year. It was this lovely dark livery with playing cards on it. The drivers' numbers looked beautiful. The only thing was, it was very difficult to tell the difference between the Alfa Romeos and the Mercedes. Lots of drivers had custom helmets. Here's a few photographs of some of them, but by far my favorite was Esteban Ocon's Deadpool helmet. It just looked really, really good. There was such an attention to detail to make us feel that we were in Las Vegas. Even the curbs had playing card symbols on them. And it looked really good when the cars were driving over them. Formula One took over the graphics displayed on the sphere. I did get this shot of Max Verstappen driving past the sphere when it had been themed Max Verstappen. And along with making the race feel very Vegas, it wouldn't be Vegas without a host of celebrities. So my point 4 is Vegas brings the rich and famous. There were so many celebrities, so many famous people that I think I missed half of them. Here is a collection of some of the people I saw over the race weekend. Point 5, qualifying. Qualifying was the first time we saw cars really pushing it on this new track. It produced some quite wild results. Everything felt a little bit mixed up. Ferrari were on top with another brilliant pole position by Charles Leclerc, but there were surprises in there as well. Lewis and Checo being knocked out in Q2, and Alex Albon and Logan Sargent making it through to Q3. Logan would eventually qualify P7, which is phenomenal, his best qualifying of the year. And hopefully that will go a long way to securing his drive for next year. This is a great result for the home fans, and it would be a big boost if he can start mixing it up there with the other drivers. He looked exceptionally happy in the media pen afterwards, as you can imagine. Here are a few more shots from qualifying. Point number 6, let's go racing. So this track actually produced some really good racing. There was so much negative press coming into this race weekend about how the tyres would be too cold, how the track layout was terrible, the corners were undrivable. But in the end, it produced a remarkably good race. The cold temperatures did play a part, but nowhere near as bad as people were predicting. It wasn't actually that cold on the night, it was about 17 degrees. There was a very cold wind, which did make things a bit uncomfortable photographing from the track. Charles and Max clashed on the first corner, earning Max a 5-second penalty. Alonso and Bottas also clashed. We had a couple of restarts, one because of Lando Norris's massive crash, and another one because of George and Max tangling. All of this really mixed up the field and made things absolutely fascinating. The lead changed a number of times between Checo, Charles and Max, all of it on merit, and this is the sort of racing that we've missed this year. There were points when each of those three looked like they were going to be the eventual winner. And even when Max did take control of the race, he didn't dominate it like he has in previous races. Charles was still in touching distance. And then to cap off the excitement, we have another last lap photo finish involving Sergio Perez, this time with Charles Leclerc. And unfortunately, for the second weekend in a row, Checo loses out, but is involved in a fantastic battle. But my point number 7 is Max wins yet again. He did overcomplicate things for himself with the 5-second penalty, and he did have to fight a bit through the field to claim this victory. And while the result might be something we're quite used to this year, the whole podium ceremony was rather different. We had parc ferme as usual when the drivers climb out of the car and celebrate. I was standing next to Checo Perez's wife, and they were both so happy with this result. It was great to see Checo back on the podium. But then the drivers got into a bus, headed across town to the Bellagio where they did their interviews, and we had a spectacular fountain display. They got back in the bus, raced back to the start-finish straight, where they held the podium celebration on the actual grid. It was brilliant, the champagne looked amazing, and it's a pretty iconic podium. It could be right up there with Mexico and Monza. There we have it, the first Las Vegas Grand Prix taking place down the strip. My verdict is it was great. I think it looked amazing, but not only did it look good, and they had all the glitz and glamour, but the racing was also really, really good. It provides the drivers with a lot of new challenges. Everyone I spoke to seemed to be having an amazing time. And I can really see this Grand Prix becoming iconic in the calendar. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, so please do let me know in the comments below. And if you haven't yet, please do like and subscribe. It really helps. Before the race, I did a track walk, which you might like to see, and there's a link in the description below.
Thank you so much for joining me at this look back over the Las Vegas Grand Prix. I really hope you've enjoyed it. The sun is rising, I've just come back from the track, and I'm going to go head to bed. Tomorrow, fly off to Europe, pick up some fresh socks, and then head off to Abu Dhabi for the final race of the season. So until then, goodbye.